A while back, I learned that some friends of mine were cheaters in a game I like playing. Now, cheating seems to have, at the very least, a moral ambiguity surrounding it, and at worst, a severe detriment to the game as a whole, and the people who play it. And while I sit back, casually enjoying my favorite games, and watch as one in particular gets no treatment from its developers for its cheaters, bot hosters, and griefers, a question struck my mind. I had been playing for a solid hour, and had died nearly 80 times, and gotten about 10 kills. I was not having fun, but what is fun? And does the philosophy behind it even matter? Well, yeah, actually I think it does. Allow me to explain. And a notice beforehand, this video will be drawing examples primarily from Team Fortress 2, as this is the game I play most frequently. If you have other examples to what is described and discussed in this video, leave them in the comments and have pleasant discourse and discussions with one another on the subject. Before we go any further, we need to understand the definition of fun. Fun is defined as enjoyment, amusement, or lighthearted pleasure. That's the first vague definition Google provides. If we go deeper, we see that fun is described as playful behavior or good humor, behavior or an activity that is intended purely for amusement and should not be interpreted as having serious or malicious purposes. There is a video I watched recently by Toofty titled The Truth Behind the TF2 Bot Crisis, in which he describes how the bot crisis is affecting the game negatively, and he interviews a few cheaters and bot hosters to ask them why they do what they do. Despite the varied answers such as burnout, laziness, and even a hint of vengeance, the collective answer all around was simply, because it's fun. If we are to describe fun as mere superficial enjoyment of whatever activities we partake in, we'd run into a lot of problems, because objectively speaking, some activities are not to be taken part in. Keeping it G-rated, I'd say we move from such activities and instead focus on what people actually mean when they say, I just want to have fun. I've heard this term a lot in games I've played, from friendlies that I've killed to getting out-sniped by a cheater. People say to just let people have fun and enjoy things. But are things such as cheating good to enjoy? Well, let's back up a second and acknowledge the definition of cheating. To act dishonestly or unfairly in order to gain an advantage, especially in a game or examination. People who cheat are either one of two things: hardcore deniers of this definition, or stridently proud about adhering to it. Like, they can wear this as a badge of honor, that's how proud they are. Some have a very strong moral constitution against cheating and associating with cheaters, especially if found out later. If we all accept that cheaters are indeed cheaters, and if the cheaters admit to giving themselves the edge so as to be better, quote-unquote, at the game, then this would be dishonest. But dishonest how? Well, dishonest to the predetermined rule set of the game, of course. To anything in life, whether it be the games you play or the organization you're a part of, any acting of getting to a higher level without adhering to the predetermined rule set or system of obtaining that level is not just unfair, but disrespectful to the people striving for a similar rank, and an insult to the intelligence of both veterans of that rank and new players alike. Since I was in Scouts for about 10 years, that would be like someone reaching the equivalent of an Eagle Scout rank just because they had hand in the program, like their dad being the scout leader or something, regardless of how hard he worked for such a respectable rank. Now, games as a whole are no strangers to cheating. In poker, the dealer can manipulate the deck and deal falsely. Loaded dice exist specifically for beneficial rolls. In video games, the variables are nigh infinite. Anything from increased damage resistance, invisible detection of nearby enemies, increased speed, aim assist, or a stupendous amount of luck from loot sources. Good examples would be like how Venusian Rapper used wall hacks to see incoming heavies during games he was specifically trying to call out fellow cheaters. Credit to Vorobey for the footage. Then the legend of Bashi, one of the world's best rocket jumpers, being ousted for moving the start and finish lines of rocket jump maps slightly forward and back to suit his advantage, resulting in his ban. Credits to H2 for the footage. Even in a game like Minecraft, where Carl Jobst excellently documented the story of a cheater whose piglin drops were exceedingly fortunate, even far beyond the standard of what lucky actually meant in the game. Now, there are guys out there like Vorobey who expose cheaters and can even outplay them to cause them to freak out, which is all fun in games, but it doesn't really provide a solution to the issue at hand. That being said, is a solution even possible? Well, specifically relating to TF2, there isn't much to be done other than kicking the cheater in question. If you're fortunate enough to play in a casual server not already infested by Omegatronic bots, the few bots that do enter can be kicked quite quickly. But again, we're missing the mark. The reasons why cheaters even exist in the first place, or find their dishonesty to be of little consequence, is difficult to pin down a lot of the time. Some admit to laziness, others do it out of pure spite for other players, and desire nothing more than the chemical rush in their brains as they relish in the thrill of driving other people crazy. Funnily enough, those people are also the most sensitive when they get trashed in a standard pub with no cheats active. I like to think that a lot of the time, people just were not taught in their formative years that anything worth having requires effort. By cheating, a significant amount of mental growth is stunted by aiding that person so much to the point where the effort involved is minimal, if even existent at all. If you want a high rank in a video game, you would probably, hopefully, understand that it's not going to be easy, and that's why it's worth it. The effort involved in such a high accomplishment is all worth it when you actually receive the reward. The work involved in anything, when you do it, is the most rewarding factor of all time. When you breathe that big, deep breath after a grueling workout, knowing that you've accomplished what you set out to do, and that you can confidently say that you not only did the best you could do, but that you will strive to do better the next day, that is the human experience. This is something that a lot of people discredit video games for, especially first-person shooter games. The notion that respawn after death occurs is cheating to a lot of older people, as they understand the gravity and significance of death being the ultimate consequence better than a lot of us younger people do. However, if you look at it purely as a task to accomplish and get better at, it becomes like any other task that needs to be accomplished on a technical level. I have started playing competitive TF2, as I want to grow in my skill level to the highest of degrees. It has, and is going to continue to be, very, very hard, and I am not going to win every single time. In fact, I embrace the losses that come my way. The learning experience will be incredibly valuable in the end, and I understand the cost of success. Cheaters are the antithesis of all that the human experience is about. Where one would regularly learn, cheaters scoff at the sight of it. Where one would put in effort, cheaters cower in fear. Where one wears the helmet of accomplishment, cheaters wear the mask of deceit to conceal their jealousy and rage. Where one wields the sword of victory, cheaters retreat into their caves. Where one is the example of all everyone wishes to become, cheaters become the example of all everyone avoids, like the plague. Now, because I'm me, this is the part of the video where I go even crazier than I already have been, and make up an acronym. F-U-N. Hey, that spells fun! Wow! F for fair, U for uninvolved, and N for narcissistic. These are the three facets by which all gamers tend to fall under. Fairness is pretty much agreed upon as the word to describe when all parties involved in an activity understand and adhere to the activity's rule set. They do not find ways to exploit or break the rules, lest it be in a playful and brief nature, and they exhibit the crucial virtue of sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is something that has become quite lacking in today's world, to the point of glorifying the lack of it. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't laughed at their occasional rage compilation where people throw their controllers, break their hardware, and utter such a sequence of words it makes me wonder how God allows that man to still exist. When people have enough mental grace about them to shake hands, even after they've been defeated, or compliment and encourage the one they beat, that is one who possesses the trait of sportsmanship. Everyone loves a class act, and there's nothing classier, as it were, than a sportsman-like competitor. One who can say, in the end, regardless of how badly they lose or how greatly they won, good games, and who can say that they truly had a good time playing against such an opponent with no belittlement whatsoever. Both sides of this coin, in victory or defeat, are opportunities for good sportsmanship, an act that inevitably will prove beneficial for yourself and possibly even the opponent. This represents the good side of the nature of games. Next is the middle ground, the frustrating centrist. You, uninvolved. This facet of gamers is known better by the name filthy casual. Now, inherently, there's nothing wrong with being casual about games. You want to play a board game of Monopoly just because a sibling asked you to? Okay, fine, I'll play by the rules, but I'm not going to invest anything mentally into the game because I frankly couldn't care less. This is the uninvolved nature of the filthy casual. Such a player is detached from the spirit of the game, whether in solo play or co-op. He does not play for himself nor anyone else. He is just there to burn time. He has no hand in the game, and becomes a nuisance to all others who, generally speaking, want to take the game at least somewhat seriously. There is another side of the coin to this uninvolved nature, however. This type of player can also be uninvolved specifically in the team spirit by taking the game too seriously. Now, there's a reason why I'm not putting this descriptor in the N category, but I'll get there. This type of uninvolved player is uninvolved in the sense that he lacks situational awareness, either intentionally or unintentionally. He tries too hard to be so good at the game, to the point of causing himself or his team an irredeemable detriment. This try-hard type of person is known as the sweat. Sweats are generally not respected, as they tend to play games only for themselves. Not quite to the degree of selfishness as the narcissistic gamer does, but the selfishness is more so constructed out of spite of himself than anything else. The sweat doesn't want to prove anything to anybody, but rather tries to prove something to himself. The sweat typically manifests a brazenly bold nature in games. The type of bring-it-on behavior that almost always gets him killed before he can do an inkling of damage, support, or other noteworthy utility to his team. Even in single-player games, sweats exist solely to prove to themselves that they are the kings, because in single-player games you're not fooling anyone. There's no one you're fooling but yourself. The only solution to this problem, as is the same with the next one, is humility. Humility in that, yes, you lost. Yes, you're not good right now, but you can get better if you wouldn't be so hard on yourself by being in denial. Unfortunately, though the sweat may convert, that can't really be said for the last category in the acronym of fun. The narcissistic gamer does not adhere as strictly to the literal definition of narcissism as people would immediately think, but the selfishness and pride elements that are core to the psychological narcissistic personality disorder still remain. The two sides of the narcissistic gamer's coin are rage and cheating. Rage is anger, whacked out of control. Ever been kicked from a high tower or two-fort server for being too good at sniper? Ever been called names that would make the devils in hell shiver because you backstabbed or headshot a sweat one too many times? Ever made someone commit the iconic rage quit? You've encountered a gamer that goes beyond a sweaty tryhard. And if you yourself have rage quit, congratulations, you're a narcissistic gamer. One who cannot control their emotions readily enough to take a breath, try again, and get better. Now, granted, a rage quit is a momentary lapse in judgment, and albeit a moment of weakness if you want to phrase it like that. But it gets worse and worse when gamers whine and complain, as verbal slanders have become so normalized in gaming culture that they don't even mean much. I guess we can't expect much sportsmanship from people these days if people talk that poorly amongst one another. It's quite sad. Now, if you're unfortunate enough, you'll wind up facing the other side of the narcissistic gamer's coin, the cheaters. Cheaters, as discussed previously in this video, do not mind if you catch them nowadays, as they can always begin anew through various means and take no visibly outward care about the fact that they ruin the experience for everyone else. The reason for this is that they no longer have the desire to prove something to themselves like the sweat did. He is no longer caring about the place in the game or the development of his mind and skills. He does not care about the well-being and good sportsmanship of other players in the server. He only has one thing on his mind: victory at all cost. Unlike the sportsman-like player, who will play within the rules and thus achieve his desire for victory by honorable means, the cheater does not care about the well-being of others. Unlike the detached gamer, however, he is about as dedicated to his cause as the sportsman and the sweat. With smug confidence in his victory, he cares not if the victory is false and meaningless. By cheating, he has already accepted its greatest curse, that all victories are worthless if he can skate his way to it effortlessly. The only part of his experience that even means anything anymore are the losses. Because eventually, regardless of his wall hats, trigger bots, or auto-aim, he will fail. His team will lose. He will die more than he can kill, and the negative impact of such a feat will be 100-fold that of the normal loss, for his lack of effort inevitably failed him. Where he once rode so high, he fell even farther. And hopefully, just maybe, he learns his lesson and returns to the path of putting time and effort into pure skill. Or he quits, writes a scathing review, and disappears, learning nothing and remaining stubborn and forever unsatisfied. Now, I don't want to end it here, and I don't want to have a cheesy moral either, but I think a fair conclusion to this is, when you play a game, any game, physical, digital, solo, or online, it is not such a bad thing to bend the rules so long as you stick to a consistency of some kind. Speedrunners are notoriously good at what they do, and they literally break the games in some cases, but they still stick to their own rule set. And there's still ways to cheat in speedrunning that the speedrunners outs others for. And it's honestly more challenging to break the game the way they do than playing it straight, so there is that too. But anyways, stay away from the cheats and the cheaters. Keep going, you're doing great. I pray that your efforts are successful and that you folks achieve your goals. And with that, thank you guys for watching the video. Please let me know what you think about this discussion in the comment section. I would greatly much want to hear what you guys have to say about this all. If you are a cheater, please provide your perspective, because I unfortunately have not had the distinct pleasure of meeting one of you people and exactly talking to you in a very sophisticated manner. So if any of you want to, please feel free. That's what the comment section is for. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and please consider subscribing and becoming a YouTube member so that you can keep supporting all these projects. And with that, I bid you all farewell. See ya. Even in a game like Minecraft, where Carl Jobst It's a bit of a tongue twister. Carl Jobst excellently documented. Carl Jobst Excellently. You gotta take a breath there. Right. Even in a game like Minecraft, where Carl Jobst excellently oh no! This would happen even if I was talking like way slower. Jeez. Excellently documented the story of a cheater who... Oh. Sorry. No, it's fine, it's fine.